At the moment, we think that the epidemic is doubling roughly every 7 days. It could be a little bit longer, maybe a little bit shorter, but let's say roughly every 7 days. If, and that's quite a big if, but if that continues unabated, and this grows doubling every 7 days, then what you see, of course, let's say there were 5,000 today, it would be 10,000 next week, 20,000 the week after, 40,000 the week after. And you can see that by mid-October, if that continued, you would end up with something like 50,000 cases in the middle of October per day. 50,000 cases per day would be expected to lead a month later, so the middle of November, say, to 200 plus deaths per day. So this graph, which is not a prediction, is simply showing you how quickly this can move if the doubling time stays at 7 days. And of course, the challenge, therefore, is to make sure that the doubling time does not stay at 7 days. There are already things in place which are expected to slow that. And to make sure that we do not enter into this exponential growth and end up with the problems that you would predict as a result of that. That requires speed, it requires action, and it requires enough in order to be able to bring that down.
I think everybody will realise that at this point the seasons are against us. We're now going into the seasons, late autumn and winter, which benefit respiratory viruses, and it is very likely they will benefit COVID as they do, for example, flu. So we should see this as a 6-month problem that we have to deal with collectively. It's not indefinite, and as I come on to, science will in due course ride to our rescue. But in this period of the next 6 months, I think we have to realise that we have to take this collectively very seriously. If I increase my risk, a lot of people say, well, can't people just be allowed to take their own risk? The problem with a pandemic or an epidemic infection like this is if I as an individual increase my risk, I increase the risk to everyone around me and then everyone who's a contact to theirs. And sooner or later, the chain will meet people who are vulnerable or elderly or have a long-term problem from COVID. So you cannot, in an epidemic, just take your own risk. Unfortunately, you're taking a risk on behalf of everybody else. It's important that we see this as something we have to do collectively.